It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing when you let your nuts hang.
Putin is canceled or put on hold. Do you know what happened there, and does that affect your decision whether or not to send tomahawks?
No, I don't want to have a wasted meeting. I don't want to have a waste of time. So I'll see what happens. But we did all of these great deals, great peace deals. They're all peace deals. They're agreements, solid agreements, every one of them. But this one, and I said, go to the line of battle, the battlefield lines, and you pull back and you go home, and everybody take some time off, because you got two countries that are killing each other. You got two countries that are losing 5,000 to 7,000 soldiers a week. So we'll see what happens. We haven't made a determination.
What changed your mind after talking to Vladimir Putin between then and now? Why did you think that a Budapest summit might be wasted time?
Well, I didn't say anything. I didn't say it would, and you never know what's going to happen. But a lot of things are happening on that front, on the war front.
He said he didn't say anything. He just said it'd be a waste of time. You asked him, why do you think it'll be a waste of time? He said, well, I didn't say anything. That's so funny.
With Ukraine and Russia, and we'll be notifying you over the next 2 days as to what we're doing.
Did you hear
a lot of things are happening.
Did you hear something from the
president? So
do you still see a chance for a ceasefire? And what is Putin asking for?
I do. It's a vicious look. It's a vicious war. It doesn't really affect us. We sell equipment to them. We sell equipment to NATO, and NATO gives it to Ukraine, but we don't pay anything anymore. Biden spent $350 billion. The war would have never happened if I were president. Would have never, not even a million years. And Putin knows that too. Would have never happened. But it did happen, and I came in, and I have to see if I can put it out. But it doesn't affect us, because we're not losing soldiers there. Although, when I first came in, that could have ended up, it's not going to happen, but it could have ended up in World War III. That was really out of control. So now it's, they're shooting and they're killing people, and I think Putin wants it to end, and I think Zelensky wants it to end, and I think it's going to end.
President, the meeting with Vladimir
Zelensky's his buddy, but he could talk to Zelensky anytime he wants, but why is the war not ended? Why is Ukraine still invading? I don't know. Something's not right.
Remember last week, the president said he would be meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in the coming weeks, certainly indicated that could be within 2 weeks. That meeting is now not going to happen. The White House says that there will be no imminent meeting between the two presidents, that Secretary of State Marco Rubio had a productive phone call with his Russian counterpart, the foreign minister Sergei Lavrov, but notably, Rubio and Lavrov are not going to be meeting in person this week, as the president had indicated would happen to set the stage for his meeting with Putin in Budapest, Hungary very soon. Last week, the president had that phone call about 2 hours on Thursday with the president of Russia, and that is where they agreed to have this meeting. Kerry had a lot of questions about why have this meeting? What were the conditions? What had changed to actually prompt another sit down, given that nothing really has moved along since their Alaska summit? The president says he likes these kinds of meetings and wanted to have that face-to-face, but for now, that looks like that is off. Notably, the Russians even downplayed the planning of this and said that you can't postpone what was not scheduled, certainly indicating maybe things were not as firm on their side as what the president had indicated last week.
How is the media still getting this information? They are supposed to be outside. You ain't even invited in. Well, of course, just like before, someone is leaking information to the media. It's always going to happen. It doesn't matter if they're inside or outside. The news media always has an inside man. And that's what we're seeing right now. Because why did the news even know this? They said they don't even want to be in the press room at the Pentagon. So why do they know this information? Play your
According
words.
to a senior White House official, a planned summit in Budapest between President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin is now on hold. Just last week, the president posted on Truth Social that he would be meeting face-to-face with Putin to discuss the war.
It doesn't seem like there's any real progress that has been made aimed at actually getting a potential end to the war, which the U.S. and President Trump has said is his goal here. So they're saying there isn't a reason to have an actual meeting right now with President Putin if there isn't going to be some kind of an agreement. And we know that there are still some really key outstanding areas of disagreement when it comes to territory and when it comes to how this war might end.
According to a senior White House official, a planned summit in Budapest.
This war ain't gonna end until Russia defeats Ukraine. Ukraine has to step down. They're not. They're fighting, and you know that's what Trump wants to do. Trump wants to stop another war. I get it. Ukraine been at war for like going on 4 years now. The Ukraine and Russia war. Yeah, that's crazy. And Ukraine is not backing down at all. So, you know, technically they are Russian.
President Trump is trying to end two brutal wars on two continents. And tonight, his pursuit of peace faces challenges in both Ukraine and Gaza.
The administration now says the president has no plans to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin anytime soon. That's as Vice President J.D. Vance traveled to Israel today to try to ensure that a fragile ceasefire holds. Nick Schifrin is following both of these developments and joins us now. All right, Nick, so let's start with Putin. President Trump initially said they'd meet within weeks. What happened?
President Trump made that prediction late last week that they would have a meeting within 2 weeks. But tonight, an administration official sent me this statement, quote, "There are no plans for President Trump to meet with President Putin in the immediate future." Jeff, as we've talked about, Trump has long believed that his relationship with Putin would produce peace in Ukraine. But this afternoon in the White House, Trump seemed to dismiss the possibility of making any progress with Putin.
I don't want to have a wasted meeting. I don't want to have a waste of time, so I'll see what happens.
The president later added that nothing had been decided and that he would decide whether to meet Putin within 2 days. But the fact is that Secretary of State Marco Rubio was supposed to meet Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov this week to hash out the Trump-Putin summit. But two U.S. officials tell me the Rubio-Lavrov phone call yesterday revealed once again that Russia maintains its maximalist demands. Among them this: Ukraine must give up parts of the eastern Donbass region that Ukraine holds, even though Russia has failed to win it on the battlefield. Number two, Ukraine can never join NATO. Number three, Western troops cannot be based in or even train Ukrainian troops inside Ukraine. And number four, Ukraine's military capabilities must be limited, including its ability to fire long-range weapons. Those are largely the same exact demands that Russia made in late 2021, before the full-scale invasion, which means that neither 3 years of war, during which Ukraine caused 1 million Russian casualties, nor Trump's efforts on diplomacy have shifted Russian positions. And today, Lavrov specifically rejected Trump's demands that the war end on the current front lines.
I think that's the most important part of this whole little, is that Russia is not willing to stop the war because they don't want no peace treaty. They want to take over Ukraine, and they want Ukraine to bow down to them. They're so close to Ukraine. That's just like Venezuela to America. We want to stop Venezuela from, you know, being able to produce long-range missiles in their country from other countries with the influence of other countries such as Russia and China. And I get it. If America bases in Ukraine, what does that say for Russia? That's going to put Russia on high alert at all times. And 1 million casualties from Russia is crazy. That war needs to stop. That's a deadly war. I mean, and Ukraine is I don't know how big Ukraine is, but they're killing the shit out of Russia.
Now, when we hear from Washington that, quote, "we must stop immediately and that we must not discuss anything further," well, if we simply stop, that would mean forgetting about the root causes of the conflict, which the U.S. administration, with the arrival of Donald Trump, has clearly understood and voiced.
Russia may see a more friendly president, Jeff, but clearly feels no pressure to accept Trump's demands or amend its own.
Well, let's shift our focus now to the Middle East. The vice president is in Israel, as we mentioned. What did he say?
So Vice President Vance is visiting Israel with Trump's top senior advisors on the Middle East, Jared Kushner and Ambassador Steve Witkoff. And today they voiced support for the ongoing ceasefire, even though we've seen major violations over the last few days. The Israeli military says Hamas gunmen crossed into Israeli-controlled territory inside Gaza, killing 2 Israeli soldiers. While Hamas said it was cut off from those fighters, Israel launched widespread airstrikes, killing more than 40 Gazans. Despite all of that, Vance expressed great optimism that the ceasefire would hold. He also discussed the return of...
We being lied to about this war over there in Gaza. We being lied to. It's a lot more going on. These people are still, both countries are still trying to invade. They're still shooting at each other. There's no peace in sight. We long away from peace over there. It's been too many casualties. Hamas is still killing hostages. After they said they released all the hostages, people are still missing. People are still dying. They're still shipping over dead bodies. This is going to continue to happen, and I don't think Trump ain't stopped that. Trump will not stop the Ukraine war. Those are the 2 major wars, I guess, that we got going on in the world, which is crazy.
The deceased Israeli hostages. 2 more are crossing over from Gaza into Israel tonight. But Hamas missed a 72-hour deadline to hand over all of those deceased hostages. About 13 remain in Gaza. But today, the vice president did not blame Hamas for that. He even declined to give Hamas a deadline for that. And he said he understood why there was a delay.
This is difficult. This is not going to happen overnight. Some of these hostages are buried under thousands of pounds of rubble. Some of the hostages, nobody even knows where they are. That doesn't mean we shouldn't work to get them, and that doesn't mean we don't have confidence that we will.
Vance also declined to impose a deadline on Hamas to disarm, Jeff, but repeated the president's threat that if Hamas did not disarm, it would be, quote, obliterated. The next step, of course, as we've talked about in this process, trying to get some kind of reconstruction and foreign forces into Gaza.
So if they buried under rubble, does that mean Israel bombed their own hostages? I mean, what's going on? Like, send them back. If you don't send them back, we're going to bomb you some more. Dude, you just creating more casualty. Think about the women and children. You're killing women and children over there.
Gaza, U.S. officials tell me there is
bombing
no
hospitals
agreement
and
from
stuff.
any country to actually send any of those troops into Gaza yet.
Nick Schifferner, thanks to you for this reporting.
Thank you.
It's happened again.
You're gambling with World War III.
Remember these scenes from February, when another meeting between Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky has descended into a shouting match. The pair met at the White House, where it's reported that the US president threw maps and raised his voice at the Ukrainian leader. Now, Zelensky had gone to Washington to ask for increased military support to fight Russia, but Trump is said to have told him to give up Donetsk and accept Russia's demands, warning that Putin would destroy him if Ukraine didn't give in. Trump even appeared to copy Putin's rhetoric, calling the war a special operation. Now, it's the latest flip-flop from Trump, who just days ago backs Ukraine to win the war and recapture all of its land. Trump is due to meet Putin in Hungary for peace talks, which Zelensky says that he's ready to join. It's happened again.
You're gambling with World War III.
So, okay, Trump got he channeling his inner Putin. Okay, listen, man. Yeah, Trump is a tough guy, I guess. He's a tough guy. He's tough on war. He changed the Department of Defense to the Department of War because he's tough on war. You know what I mean? That's Trump keeps switching sides, bro. I don't know. I don't even know why they trust him. Why would Zelensky trust Trump if he's saying just give up to the demands, give up your country? You know what I'm saying? We're not coming over there. We need to stop this war. But then he says, I fully back you. I believe you'll win, but just give up. Listen, sometimes if you give up the fight, you still win the war. You know what I'm saying? You're saving your people, your soldiers. That's what he's saying. Just, You may win the battle, but you won't win the war if you keep fighting.
Day and night. For some women, it can start working in as quick as 1 week.